Update for the Granny Shots ETF for the week of June 11th. Let me start with some particulars. As of the end of June 10th, the price of Granny Shots was $21.35, net asset value of $21.37, and total assets of $1.2 billion. For the past week, Granny Shots has gained 1.13% compared to a 0.89% gain for the S&P 500, which is relative outperformance of 24 basis points. Year-to-date, Granny Shots is outperforming the S&P total return by 435 basis points and 944 basis points in the last 12 weeks. And in fact, at the start of this week, the feud does seem to have ended between President Trump and Elon Musk, and Tesla stock actually recovered almost all the losses, up 20% for the week. Now let's look at the broader Granny Shots portfolio. The top 5 performers in the past week have been KLA Tencor, Alphabet, Oracle, Palantir, and Cadence Design Systems. Now, KLA's rally is really because semis have been doing really well. And I think semis are doing well because the trade war between the US and China is largely over. And in fact, semiconductor stocks look like they are about to break to all-time highs, which is a good sign. Now, seasonality also outperformed, as you can see here, outperforming by 120 basis points, led by Google, Palantir, Cadence, and CrowdStrike. Okay, well, that gets us to the macro. And I think the key macro to me is, it's very obvious, risk appetite's been improving. I know this has been a rally that has been hated, but let me just give you 3 things that tell me risk appetite's improved, or should be improving. If you're cautious, you should be less cautious. The first is that Bitcoin is made all-time highs, and it's a leading indicator for the S&P 500. So I think that equities are going to follow this all-time high in Bitcoin. And Bitcoin's rise has a lot to do with central bank liquidity. Now, there's many other signs, but the third one I want to highlight is that IPOs are back. You know, there was 103 billion of IPOs in May of this year. It's the highest in actually several years. And in June so far, we've had some big ones, like the Circle IPO, which is the stable coin. And that's actually gained 180% since its IPO. And then on Wednesday evening, Chime priced its $700 million IPO. So bottom line, I think that this is still the most hated rally, but I think it means there's still upside. It is, again, as you can tell, you could look around, you know, you've got many people who are skeptical. Skepticism is not a sign of a top. That's a sign of market is better. There's tax and deregulation visibility. The Fed's more dovish in 2026, and companies survived a major stress test. But I want to explain that again. You know, we had a COVID shutdown, but companies survived. Well, that's good for PE because they survived a stress test. We had a bullwhip supply chain hit companies in 2021, but they survived that. Then companies survived this massive inflation cycle without seeing margins collapse. They survived the fastest Fed rate hikes in history, and they survived this.
You know, Bitcoin's become a macro asset, and so one of the great things is most people have it on their screen next to gold and silver and the S&P. And you know, I think back 10 years ago when people thought we were crazy, and now it's an institutionalized macro asset, and you know, it goes from 110 to 107, that's 3%. That's within the realm of volatility. It's not newsworthy. Now, if you own a lot of Bitcoin, it is. But broadly, I think one of the great things is it's just become institutionalized.
Yeah, I do have one question about this. I thought Bitcoin looked, how to break this down for us.
Listen, we are in a dollar bear market. For the last 15 years, American exceptionalism was the story. Europeans were wildly overweight, and Asians wildly overweight the U.S. stock market. And we have a administration that wants a weaker dollar. They're pretty clear about it. You know, even in the way Trump negotiates, and you can argue if it's successful or not successful, but by telling Canada they want to be the 51st state, and telling people that they come here to kiss his rear end. It doesn't engender people to say, "Oh, I want to buy more dollars." And so we're having people reweight their portfolio. They all fall into that same category as something that's not the dollar.
It's interesting because Bitcoin, there's theoretically going to mine 21 million of them, right, Mike? And in your company, Galaxy Digital, by the way, I think one thing people get wrong a lot on my side of the camera is that you're also a power company. You've got Helios out in Texas, going to grow that as well. It's part of the whole story. You got to make the power. Is there a bull case for not finding any more Bitcoin? I know it probably will be found, but if more of something is bad,
there's no more Bitcoin. Like what's unique about Bitcoin as an asset is it was created with 21 million coins total. Period. End of story. There'll never be more. Pushing the snowball uphill, it started rolling downhill, and now we've got all these treasury companies buying Bitcoin. We've got sovereign wealths buying Bitcoin. We've got retail investors buying Bitcoin. There's easier ways to get it, and so the adoption of Bitcoin as a macro asset, as an asset to save money in, I think that's now a ball rolling downhill. And the bull case becomes that over time, young people care about it more than old people. And so gold slowly gets replaced by Bitcoin. And so,
Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Support the channel by liking this video, subscribing, and enabling post notifications for more content on crypto and digital assets. Check out our other videos and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your engagement helps with the YouTube algorithm and keeps the content coming. Thanks for your support. Enjoy the video.